So today I'm going to show you another game. We have a quite a serious jump in time, and this game will be from 2011 Vikenzea chess tournament against Alexei Shirov. Well, I must admit that even though we have played so many games with Alexei, I think the first tournament game we played in 1989 in the Junior Soviet Championship. It ended in a draw. And well, we've played tens of games with him. And all in all, I have, well, a positive score. But frankly, he was mating me more often than I was mating him. I mean, of course, he's a very well known for his imagination and for his brilliant attacks. And he had mated me more than once in the chess career. But I had a few attacks as well, and this game is one of those examples. It reminds me, in some way, you will see later during this lesson, that it reminds a little bit my game against Topalov, which I have just shown you recently when I won with black, because both kings were unsecure, and a lot of amazing variations actually, which are maybe not so relevant in the sense of a practical play, because well, it's very difficult to find all this over the board, but at least it is really amazing, beautiful, and just showing again how complicated chess can be and how beautiful the game of chess can be. So that was I was black, and Alexei played d4 as he usually do. And for this tournament, I think he prepared Scotch defense, and I played the knight f6 line. Okay, this is all well known theory, very sharp variation, very double-edged. Again, before, well, the computer started to sterilize it, it was extremely interesting. And Garry Kasparov, he had some nice victories here with white, but now it's becoming more and more difficult actually, because the position is pretty direct also. So it's well, almost sterilized, unfortunately, already. And the best move is supposed to be bishop a6. That's how I played in some games after. And this moment, white is really struggling to find any constructive idea to fight for advantage, even though, of course, there is a lot of theory, but seems that it's a bit out of fashion nowadays, because white cannot really find anything. But still, maybe you can try. I mean, the position is very interesting in general. But I myself actually also, I think, for this particular tournament, prepared the move knight b6, which is also a very solid, good move, but it's a little bit less straightforward. There is more play here. So knight c3, bishop d7, bishop d2, and now I prepared this g6 move. I think it was, well, not the main continuation, at least at that time, leading to a very, very sharp play. So knight e4, long castle, that is the idea. Of course, well, simple trick that you cannot take on e5 because knight f6 check comes and you're losing the queen. So that is clear. Therefore, long castle. And of course, we both analyze this position with engines because it's very complicated. And I don't exactly remember where my analysis have ended. I think around move 16, I will show you this later. Now, well, in general, this position is extremely tactical. I mean, black has better development, but he has compromised pawn structure. The knight on b6, bishop on b7 can be a bit out of place. So it's very, very concrete play, and very, very double-edged. I mean, both sides can get easily better, especially if somebody is better prepared. But for now, I think that for the Alexei also was in his preparation. He played a4, the first line of the engine. Well, might look a bit strange, but the point is that white wants to kick this knight. Actually, it doesn't have good squares, yeah, after a5. Because of course, whenever white is playing c5, then black can get back his knight in the very beautiful square on d5, and just he will be better. And if white is instead of a4 just starts to play to protect his pawn on e5, then black is in time to create his play with c5, and in case of a4, for instance, there is d6 and knight d7, and actually black is even better already, because white also has some development issues and his center is compromised, so he will start to have problems in the center. Therefore, a4, with the idea, of course, already to play a5. This is a very serious threat, actually. So bishop a6, attacking the pawn, seemingly, but actually, in fact, a5 was still a very serious move here. Knight takes c4. Again, you better analyze it, of course, with engine if you're a professional player. If you are not, then it's a very interesting position to play over the board. A lot of options for both sides. For instance, knight takes c4, and now white can try to take the bishop. I mean, to win the bishop with the move b3 or knight. Yeah, but after queen e5, knight c3, queen d4, for instance, takes bishop h6, threatening rook e8. Actually, the position is not so clear, strangely enough, but it doesn't look good for white. But it seems that white can still hold here, but that was not the point. Another idea is rook a4. Very strange move, of course, but also trying to win some material. And now, yeah, now probably bishop g7, also rook e8 is possible. Another interesting move. Rook takes e4, bishop e5 with the incredible mess, which, at least according to engines, lead to an equal position. So, but here again, for example, one of the very serious options for white is a very strange move, f3. Really strange, but I guess the idea is that the queen from e2, in case of bishop takes e4, for example, I guess wants to have this f2 square somewhere. I guess so. Otherwise, why would white play f3? But actually, an interesting move. Just showing how complicated and strange is this position. But Alexei still was in his preparation. I think he played queen e3 here, because now if black takes on c4, then a7 pawn is hanging. Queen takes c5, it's basically the only acceptable move. Here, bishop c3, it's very direct play. Bishop b4, bishop takes b4, rook h e8. And here, I think, yeah, here I was still in my preparation. I think both of us, but the main actually test, and I think that was the move which I've checked at home, is long castle here. Long castle, also pretty strange, just giving back the knight. Because in case if white tries to protect it, bishop d3, of course, there is this very powerful pin on the e line, and first of all, d5 is possible. Also, you can just take on c4, bishop c3, queen e6, and again, the game is very tactical, but it seems to be in black's favor, because white is going to lose this extra piece. So that is not recommended. But long castle, yeah, this position is very difficult to assess. Because I have to take back now the piece. And now, okay, if white takes on e4 first and trying to kick the knight, then knight d5. Of course, if knight takes c4, then white has b3, at least. Yeah, f3 first, b3, then I think I'm going to lose this the piece, yeah, here. But black has knight d5, very important resource, and after cd5, taken on f1, and then the bishop on b4 is hanging, so black is even better. But the problem is a5, and here, well, black has nothing better than to play, it seems so, yeah, than to put the knight on a8. As you understand, not the most prospector or square in general for the knight in chess, and in particular in this position, especially when you have a pawn on c7. But what to do? Otherwise, I would just lose the knight. And this position is very difficult to assess. White is playing bishop d3. According to engines, white is slightly better, whatever it means. Of course, black is a pawn up and has a better pawn structure. e3 is weak, but what to do with a knight on e8? I mean, potentially black has c5 one day followed by c6 and knight c7, and if he manages, he will be just a pawn up, but it's quite a long way to manage it. And well, the thing is that I just show some move. I mean, if white plays c5, then at least black can slowly manage probably to get his knight into the game, playing d6 and maybe taking on c5 one day, trying to attack that bishop, play c5, c6, knight c7. I mean, it's a long way, but I'm not sure white can really manage to do something about it. But so c5 maybe is not a threat, but for instance, if black is trying to solve the problems playing d5, then after c5, I'm afraid the knight will never ever in this game come back from a8. Yeah, so it's well, you can have it on a8 or maybe just leave it. I mean, to play without the knight, not a very big difference. So c5 would have been a big mistake, of course, d5 because of c5. So a very strange position. I thought at home that would be fine. I mean, that black has enough resources to equalize here, but Alexei played f3. f3, and I just remembered that f3 d5 was considered to be okay, by computers. And so here I think I started to play on my own. So f3 d5. And well, maybe white was already out of his book because Shirov started to think here and well, played the wrong move. In fact, white now has to be very careful to equalize already, which was still possible to achieve, taking on d5. I have to take on f1, king takes f1, and now black has actually two ways to be fine. In both ways, he can manage to get the piece back. For example, cd5, a5. Well, otherwise black is going to take on e4 and just be winning. So a5, d4, ab, and very important that black has check on b5, king f2, queen takes b4. Of course, it looks a bit scary, to put it mildly, but after ba, there is king b7, and finally, well, it seems that this position is just equal, if not drawish, I would say. So finally, it leads to some massive exchanges and a draw. But maybe interesting move is f5, another idea just to play, because, okay, now white's king is in the center and rook is on h1. So, of course, I would, in general, prefer not to exchange queens, so not to let this king and the rook from h1 to enter the game. So f5 is an interesting move, and white has to take a check on d6 here. Otherwise, he will be worse, simply. And after c takes d6, takes dc6. So for now, for the moment, white is pawn up, but black has a much better development, some initiative, and after e4, well, the position is equal finally. So that would have been the most logical way of playing, but Alexei, he likes action. And after quite a long reflection, he played a5, but objectively it's a wrong move. It's not a good move, even though the position is awfully complicated here. And also it's very difficult to calculate it till the end. So many variations that, I think it's impossible for a human to calculate it out. So more an intuitive decision, probably this time, this brilliant intuition of Shirov in such positions, it betrayed him, because after e5, it's only black who can play for a win. Because the line is very direct, knight takes c4, queen takes a7, and queen takes b2. Maybe this move was underestimated by Alexei. Queen takes a6 check, king d7. Well, quite a position, yeah. Of course, white is two pieces up, but rook is hanging, bishop is hanging, knight is hanging, king is in the center. So things, has his own problems also. Of course, the most critical is bishop takes c4 move here. Actually, even engines at first think that it's enough to make a draw, but then they change their mind. Queen takes a1 check, king takes f2, king f2. Now the best move, because black otherwise, of course, will get mated. For example, just to show you a funny variation, in case of queen takes h1, actually, I guess knight c5 check, knight f6 check, then followed by queen takes c6 check. It's going to be over for black. White is just winning. So queen d4 check, and the problem is that it seems that king g3 is the only move in this position, and now everything would be actually quite good for white if not rook takes e4. Maybe that was what Shirov underestimated playing a5, because after rook e4 it seems that black is better. Still, maybe good drawing chances for white, but it's only black who can play for a win. Actually, the only move now is an amazing bishop takes d5 move, because fe actually is losing. Queen e3 check, king h4, g5 check, king h5, and now queen takes e4. Quiet move, threatening queen h4 mate, and black just wins here. White's king is too active, but you will see in this game, this king will be activated in many variations. Over-activated, even, I would say. So bishop takes d5, but here actually white has drawing chances. Queen e5 check is the best move. King f2, queen takes d5, fe, queen d4 check, king f3, and now very important resource, because in case of queen takes b4, white has check on d1, and then it seems to just to lead to a draw. But rook b8, I mean, the only move which can fight for advantage, but strangely enough, after rook b8, white is experiencing problems, because he cannot retreat with a bishop. Rook b3 check will be made. So then the best is rook c1. Now black has queen f6 check, very important, protecting the pawn on c6. And after king e2, rook takes b4. Finally, black is pawn up, and maybe it's closer to a draw, but still white is suffering. For instance, rook d1 check, king e7, queen d3, and now queen d6. Very good move. And the rook endgame is not clear if white can manage to save the rook endgame, because black is pawn up. And in general, black has a more secure king. So bishop takes e4 doesn't seem to be enough to equalize. So Shirov played rook d1, queen takes b4 check, king f2, rook takes e4. Okay, that's only move, but very logical, I would say. fe, queen c5 check. Well, I saw when I was calculating lines after e5 and playing d5 that, okay, at least I have a draw here, and then we see if there is anything better than a draw, because white has to play king e1, queen b4 check, king f2. I repeat it once more, queen c5, king e1, and now try maybe to think and to find a way how black can proceed in this game, to play for a win in this position. Well, I realized here that actually black can continue the game, can play for a win with a move knight b2. It's the only move, otherwise I have to give perpetual check. But strangely enough, after knight b2, it's difficult to find, first of all, a square for the rook, and it seems that black king is much more secure, at least for a short while. Then later in the game, you will see some variations where we'll also start some journeys. But for the moment, I'm rook down, but black is in the attack. White is not developed, and actually after knight b2, it seems that black is better in every line. So let's see what to do, where to go with the rook. Rook d2, for instance, then queen c1 check, king e2 has to be played, not to lose the rook, and now rook e8 is very powerful, threatening rook takes e4, and this is just winning for black. Another square, let's say if white plays rook b1, another logical move, then queen b4 check, king f2, let's say queen d4 check. And the problem is that if king goes to the e line, e1 or e2, then queen takes e4 check, rook on b1 is hanging. And in case of king g3, that we already saw, this kind of check, king h4, and now the simplest is g5 check. King h5, queen takes e4, and the mate is threatening mate on h4, also black wins. So actually, there is no real way to save the rook. But objectively, the best move is queen e2 in this position. But I think that what was played by Alexei Shirov is a logical, it's a correct way of playing, because after queen e2, white kind of resigns to a very unpleasant worse position. fighting for a draw. Let's say knight takes d1, queen takes d1. Actually, black has a number of options, but the simplest is taking on a5, let's say, king f2 check, king f3, rook e8. And it's very important that white cannot manage to keep the e-pawn, because after bishop d3, black has a very powerful resource f5. And you cannot, the only move is e5 now, otherwise the e line will be open and white will get mated. And after e5, rook takes e5. Well, there are 4 pawns for the bishop, and probably sooner than later the game will, it will end up in some endgame. The queens will be exchanged, and the endgame is very difficult because 4 pawns, and black will start pushing his central pawns. I don't know, white has drawing chances, but it's a difficult position. So I understand that Alexei decided to play e d5. Here at least things are more complicated. Queen c3 check, rook d2. That's very forced. And now, I made objectively what I played is a mistake, but the position is very complicated. Yeah, I mean, the lines are so long. You have to calculate so deep, and at some point you are not sure if it's winning or not winning. It's very, very, very difficult. I remember, again, I was more intuitively trying to take a decision, because obviously black has 2 valid moves here: queen c1 check or rook e8 check. And somehow I was not totally sure if rook e8 check is winning, but actually it is, but by no means easy. I will show you the line, how black is actually finally winning, but you will see it's quite beautiful line. I mean, it's very complicated, and you understand that it's difficult. Of course, rook e8 check is much safer move. I mean, here it's clear that it's only black who can win. White is fighting for a draw. I just was not sure if this position, it's very forced. Bishop e2, queen c1 check, king f2. Queen takes d2. Now, of course, queen c6 check is not good because king escapes. Yeah, king goes to e7, f8, and that is simply probably easily winning for black. But I think during the game I was not sure about rook b1 move. I didn't like this rook b1 because now white king wants just to retreat to f1 somewhere, and the knight on b2 is a bit stuck. And here I thought, okay, should be better for black, but no, if it's winning or not, I was not sure at all. So now I'm going to show you the best line, why it is objectively winning, but probably you will understand my hesitation. So c takes d5 has to be played. Now, of course, not queen b5 check, because simply c6. And in case if queen takes b2, of course, rook takes e2 check. Queen b7 check, king d6. There are no more checks, and black is simply winning. But king f1. King f1, and you shouldn't forget about this potential a pawn, which, my king now is not safe, and the a pawn can start to run at some point. So, here it was very difficult to calculate, to understand, if it's winning or not. So I give you the only clear way to win with black is the following variation. I just show you because it's quite nice. Knight c4. Knight c4. Now white's best try is queen b5 check already here. c6, queen b6 check, king d6. Well, e2 is hanging, so bishop takes c4. d takes c4, a6. Yeah, that is what I was a bit worried about, because the a pawn starts to run. Of course, I can make a draw, I can give perpetual, but how to win? Because my king is also not secure. Computer finds the correct answer to this question. So queen f4 check, king g1, c3, immediately more logical. Okay, a lot of checks, but no mate. Let's say rook d1 check, I suppose king c5 is just fine. So a7. And now quite a beautiful variation. Only way for black to win. Queen e3 check. So of course not king h1 because of queen e1 is mating. So king f1. Again, of course, I can give perpetual at any moment, but well, queen b8 check is a threat and so on. So queen d3 check, king g1, c2, c2, and now the fun starts. So queen b4 check, king d5. If I want to play for a win, king d5, queen a5 check, c5. And well, I have otherwise it's a perpetual. So c5, a8 queen, check, rook a8, queen a8, king d4. Well, not really the position. You would be pretty much worried. Actually, it can be also lost simply if white manages to stop the c pawn. But in fact, he cannot manage. It's quite amazing position, but he cannot manage here. So queen a4 check, queen c4, just a matter of tempis. Now, let's say queen a1 check, because if you exchange, of course, then black is winning, because let's say rook goes somewhere, c1, and then king comes, king b2, and white is not in time to stop the pawn with a winning pawn endgame. So queen a1 check, queen c3, queen a4 check, now king d3. And what is saving black here, saving and also makes it a winning position, that after rook c1, black has queen d4 check now, exchanging queens, and after queen takes d4, cd4, next king d2, and black wins. And in case of queen a6 check, c2, c4, not the only but the best move. Again, if queen d6, queen d4 is winning, so rook c1, king d2, and black is black is winning. White has to give up his rook for the pawn, and it's a lost queen endgame. So you see, it's of course impossible to calculate over the board. I've stopped somewhere here, and I thought, okay, it looks winning, but I'm not 100% sure. And actually, I thought the move which I played, queen c1 check, looks more winning. It's more secured win, but in fact, probably it's not enough actually to win the position. King e2, rook e8 check. I'm taking this rook, king f3, queen takes d2, queen takes e6 check, king d8. This is all very forced. Black is threatening mate. So queen f6 check is only move here. Rook e7 also only move if I want to play for a win. And I was calculating. You see, it's actually quite a difficult task. So when you are attacking, when you're playing such game, it's very difficult to understand where to stop. What to calculate, which decision should be played by intuition. By the way, it's one of the very important points in sharp positions when you attack or defend in such a crazy situation is, in fact, to understand what you must calculate till the end, and to measure well, because there are some positions where all Kasparovs in the world can have 2 hours time to think, but it's just impossible to calculate till the end. So you need always to distinguish between those two situations. So sometimes you need to calculate out a very long line and really very precisely. It's important, it's essential. But only when this line is it's not exceeding human abilities of calculation. If you see at some point that it's impossible to calculate everything till the end, nobody can manage. Then you should really try to make an intuitive decision somehow. Because just spending time trying to calculate out, for example, this position which occurred. Now it's white to move, and Alexei started to calculate variations. I can tell you it is impossible for any human to calculate those variations. So at some point you need to stop. Once you understand that you are getting into the territory which is not human, with more computer territory, then just you have to make a decision intuitively, but don't spend time, don't spend energy trying to calculate till the very end. But easier said than done, because sometimes you can, there is a temptation, and quite many games also in this course, you will see that when there is a temptation to say, no, it's just too complicated, so I'm not going to calculate till the end, and I'll play it from general grounds. But in fact, in those positions, it was possible, and it was absolutely essential to calculate till the end. So it's a very, very difficult, always a very difficult choice for a player who is playing the position. But I don't know, everybody decides on his own how he is solving this task when it happens during a chess game, and sometimes it happens more often than we would like to. But I mean, I don't give you a clear recipe. What I wanted is just to raise this very important question, the subject, because this is one of the most important things in such complicated positions is to make a very good balance between intuition and calculation. So now, since you are aware of this dilemma, at least maybe it will make it easier for you to finally make optimal decisions in a practical sense. So here, for instance, I'm going to show you this variations, all the variations. I analyzed it quite deeply with Engine. Again, just because it's beautiful, it's really, some variations are really amazing. And you will clearly understand it's impossible to calculate it out. So basically here, what would be the correct procedure? I think if you are playing white, thinking here, so you start calculating, of course, first from the most direct moves. And that was when I had a choice between playing in this position, when playing rook e8 check or queen c1 check after, here. I mean, what I saw that, of course, it's very safe. Frankly, I thought that if white is not playing some very direct move, he's going to get mated for sure. And that was a mistake. But at least what I calculated is direct. Queen h8 check, king d7, bishop b5 check. That is first thing you should look at with both colors. But then I saw that c6 is winning. And now, in case of dc6, let's say, king c7, there are no checks anymore, and black is starting to mate white. Or bishop takes 6 check, king c7, let's say last reasonable check d6, but after queen takes d6, white king is going to get mated soon. So I saw that, and then the rest, if white, it seems like white is in big trouble. Looks like the mate is coming, and in the worst case, I always have perpetual. So okay, let's go for it. All my intuition have betrayed me as well. Actually, here it is objectively white has good drawing chances, and as we saw after rook e8 check, in this very long 20 moves line, finally black was winning. But we are humans. So here, Alexei, why it's very much about what I've just said, that I think he was thinking and calculating, and at some point you lose a lot of energy, time, and actually you start to get lost in this ocean of variations. And very often, if you're trying to calculate something uncalculatable, mission impossible, you're trying to precisely calculate out the position which is beyond human abilities, then finally what often happens that you just blunder, you make a very bad move because you just get tired, you get confused. So here Alexei played a very bad move, I mean, really, which didn't make sense. And actually that was only the main reason, was that he spent too much time trying to understand, trying to finish his calculation, but it's impossible, basically. So anyways, I think, what are the other moves here? Well, queen h8 check is losing, as I just shown you. Actually, the best move here is king g3. And it looks strange. Black, it almost doesn't improve white's position. I mean, king g3, black has many checks. Let's say queen e3 check, king h4. Frankly, if you look at this position, it must be lost. It cannot be equal pawns. Black has king on h4. His rook and bishop is not developed, but to my surprise, I guess to your surprise also, it's a draw. Actually, this position is just drawish. So after king g3, the black's best move is knight d3. Just getting the knight closer to the attack. Now, white's only chance is to take on d3, play king h4, and okay, king e8. I mean, somewhere here, I think we both stopped and we said, okay, rook e4 check is threatening with probably mate. It's equal pawns, and white king is on h4, having a walk, quite a dangerous walk on the minefield on h4. And how can it be, not lost? But actually, after rook f1, only move because rook e4 check was threatening. Well, maybe you can find the win here for black, but best engines cannot find here. I mean, let's say queen takes d5. So on top of all issues, black is also a pawn up here. And of course, there is no really attack. White doesn't have an attack, but simply a6 engine is playing and says that it's a draw here. So the the best way for black, the best chance is to play rook e4 check. Now rook f4. Oh, it looks queen takes d5, and now the best, of course. Yeah, this is really hard to believe when you play a game, especially when you're thinking on move like king g3. I mean, in advance, yeah, that white seems to save, or at least to have good drawing chances just by playing a6. What is this? Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be so so bad for white. The king, he's pawn down, but it seems that black has nothing better than to go to this queen endgame. Rook takes f4, takes, queen d8 check, king g4. So this is the best line. f5, king f3 has to be played, check, king f2, takes. And actually, of course, this 3 against 2, I mean, of course, it's a draw objectively, but it's much more difficult to make a draw than, let's say, rook's 3 against 2. So with queens, black has more practical chances, but objectively, it must be a draw, obviously. So king g3, yeah, but again, very difficult to commit to this move, king g3, yeah, because, yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, very often you are calculating variations, you don't really see a win for black, but you just cannot believe it will work. So king g3 would give a good saving chance. Again, it's if you want a certain summary, a conclusion that, yeah, in such positions, anything can work. So you really have to calculate variation. And okay, if something works, it works. Yeah, even if it looks strange, crazy, but well, you have to play it. I mean, still, because king g3. I mean, if you don't switch on the engine, I'll just show you this position and tell you, okay, if king g3, if white has chance to save the game, most probably every top player will say, no, it shouldn't work. It's clear it should be winning for black. But this time not. It's not the case. But the most amazing variations are actually start after bishop a6. That is a very funny move. Bishop a6. So, of course, makes a lot of sense because white wants queen h8 check to have the c8 squares, and in case of king d7, and of course after rook e8 he just wants to repeat queen f6 check. It's still hard to believe it can really work, but amazingly enough, for example, black can take the pawn with a check, queen takes d5 check, but king g3, and its position is close to draw according to the engines. Another point is queen e3 check. Knight d3 is the best move. I mean, if queen e3 check, king g4, let's say h5 check, king h4, and believe me or not, but black has nothing better than a perpetual here. It's also a draw. So the best move is knight d3. And now it starts. Yeah. I mean, of course, after bishop a6, I don't know what would I do. I mean, will I find all those moves? Because it's really amazing what is going on now. After knight d3, white has two moves. Actually, okay, now it's clear that black is really wanting to mate already. And strange enough, even king g3 is not losing yet. I mean, not immediately at least. Queen e3 check, king h4. This is already impossible to believe because, I have all my pieces in attack. Knight is already close to the king. Crazy, but it seems that black has only one way to win here, by playing knight c5. And by no means easy. Already knight c5 doesn't look like a simple move. But now, for instance, there are some variations. Queen h8 check. Okay, rook e8, queen f6 check. Of course, the idea. So king d7. Yeah, this variation I liked very much. I'm not sure. I can promise you that I'm not sure I would have gone for it because it's quite scary. Bishop c8 check, king d6. Now, of course, if queen d8 check, I just play knight d7 and then will soon be mating white. But queen f6 check, king takes d5. Rook d1 check, king c4. Now my king starts to run, but actually it's pretty safe on b4. I mean, rook c1 check, for instance, king b4, and okay, it seems that black is winning here. Not even that he is mating, not really. I mean, it's just that he just picks up the second pawn and simply 2 pawns up, exchanging queens and winning. So rook b1 check, for example. Now knight b3 is good enough, but actually what I like even more, the funny thing that computer even takes on a5. king takes a5, also wins. And in case of queen a1 check, knight a4. So there is no mate, and now, of course, black wants to mate. White can manage to escape mate, but then the queens will be changed, and then winning for black. Not an easy line to see. And another beautiful line, actually, I really enjoyed, bishop b5. Well, now threatening really queen h8 check. And black has the only way to win here. If you are a really strong player, and it can be quite a good position for calculation, for imagination, to find the win here with black. So you can try, but only if you are really advanced, I would say, professional player, because it's extremely difficult. I mean, it's a long force line, but anyway, give it a try. So engine answer is c6, the best move. Why? I don't know why. I guess because the c7 is very important to have the c7 square. In the variations, in many variations. So after c6, d6. And now it's funny, it goes with checks. Queen h6 check, because king cannot get to g3. There is a fork, knight e4, and queen is lost. So king g4, queen h5 check. Again, only square is f4. g5 check. Again, queen takes g5, knight e6. Yeah, is winning. So only move king f5, queen g6 check. Queen takes g6, f g6 check. So king takes g5, rook e5 check. If king f4, rook e4 check. If king f6, rook e6 check. And finally, after all those check, c takes b5, and black is winning. So king g3 was also not an easy move, but really amazing. Actually, nowadays with computers becoming powerful, there are some drawbacks, like many opening lines are getting sterilized. But when you analyze such positions, it's a pure joy, to see how does it play, and how many incredible resources it finds, which are totally, unhuman. So king g3 seems that if black manages to find all those moves, he would still win the game. Not that I'm sure I would manage, but still. But queen h8 check, this variation is really funny. It goes like for 20 moves ahead. So king rook e8. Yeah, that's the only way to play, because I cannot play king d7 because of bishop c8 check. King d6, queen d8 check, and losing the rook on e7, actually with check also, so it's just lost. So rook e8, queen f6 check. Again, of course, rook e7 is a draw, but black can play king d7, as strange as it might look, because in fact bishop b5 check is losing. King c8, easy. Yeah, king c8, and yes, and it's winning. If queen a6 check, king b8, there are no more checks, and then black is mating first. And in case of bishop a6 check, king b8, rook b1 check, knight b4. And black wins here. I'm not sure you will believe me, but I guess you will probably believe the powerful engine. Yeah, so black is winning here. But that's not all. Queen takes f7 check. This is the main move. Now king d6, only move. King d6, and here we go. So if queen e8, queen f2 check, now, and white has a nice choice between two different mates. Very nice mate. If king e4, knight c5, mate. The king is mated in the center of the board. If king g4, then queen f4 check, king h3, knight f2 mate. So it's, you can choose which way you want to be mated, in the edge of the board or in the middle of the board. Therefore, queen f6 check has to be played. King takes d5 now. Yes, very brave. But it seems that it leads to a win after another 15 moves. King takes d5, bishop b7 check, king c5. Well, the situation is that, of course, black is also threatening mate. I mean, you just cannot really give a tempi to black. It seems so, because it's mating. But in fact, the position is actually amazing. Because, for instance, in case of king g3, actually trying to protect the king with bishop f3. Now the only way to win for black, because if rook e3 check, bishop f3, white is not worse even here. I'm not sure if any better, but not worse. But after king g3, there is an amazing resource, rook e6. I don't know. I think this is, very difficult, very, very difficult to find, but it's quite beautiful. Because, of course, queen e6 is losing. Queen f4, knight f2 mate. This we already seen. Queen f8 check, king c4. Actually, queen is quite safe on c4. There are no checks, especially because the knight on d3 is powerful. And now white is threatening all sorts of mates. So, but h4, actually h4 is saving white from, at least from mate, because king gets h2 square. And now, amazing. The only way to win, at least the only force win here. Okay, try to stop the video and try to find the only way to win for black, because, of course, it's really a high difficulty task, but still, you sometimes in chess you can get this type of position over the board, and you will need to find best moves. At least need to try this. So here the best move by far is queen b2. Very difficult move. Once it's played, you probably see that it's strong, because just simply attacking the bishop on b7 and creating this queen e5. The queen gets to e5. And in fact, white just has to play king h2, and black simply takes on b7, and with the active king, he is winning the game. So king g3 is losing, but things are not so easy after queen c6 check. King b4. Well, frankly, I don't know. I'm not genius enough, I would say, to find it over the board, because even if I wouldn't see a refutation, I'm not sure I would just manage to get with my king to a3. Rook b1 check, king a3. That is amazing, but it seems that black is winning here with the king on a3. I just enjoyed analyzing this position, because when you switch on computer and you just cannot, just every second move, it shows you open your mouth and just want to applaud, because king on a3, your rook is hanging on e8, the king almost getting mated on a3, but actually black is winning here, because if rook a1 check, king b2, queen f6 check, rook e5. It reminds me a little bit, this king on b2, a little bit my game against Kasparov in King's Indian with white. You remember when I marched with my king to b7? Something similar. Rook e5, and again, it's black who is mating white and not vice versa. But white can take on a8, actually. And now, queen f2 check comes. And well, in order not to get mated, the only way is to play king e4. Now knight c5 is not mate anymore. You remember in some line earlier it was mate. Now it's not mated, but queen e2 check. King d2, king d4, queen takes e8. But that's not over yet. That's not over. King takes d3. And again, in this position, there is only one move which wins. I mean, black is better, has some chances after other moves as well, but there is no guarantee at all. But the only one move which is winning here. Okay, if you want, you can try to find it yourself. King a2. That is beautiful. I mean, just because the rook attacking the rook, actually the rook doesn't have a good square, because if it's leaving the b line, then black has queen b5 check and queen takes b7. So basically the only move is rook b4, and now queen d7 check. Again, if rook d4, queen b5 check, queen takes b7, because of course if white manages his pawn on a6, he's not going to lose this position. But it's just a matter of time. For instance, if king c4, now c6, threatening, I suppose, queen d5 check. I don't know, I guess many threats. Well, in any case, he says king c3 is the best move. Now c5, check king a1, and queen d4 check is threatening. And finally, just white cannot manage to get his coordination, and he's losing. And in case of king e2, now also there is only one way to win for black, because if queen e7 check looks nice, double attack, but white has rook e4, followed by e6, no problem. So after king e2, c5. That's why you needed rook on b4. By the way, to get it under attack after c5, only square is b6, c4. And since we already started to have fun, I'm going to show you the variation till the end. It's also very, very direct line. I mean, it's still in between draw and win. I mean, still everything depends on one template. Bishop e4, c3, a6, queen d2 check, king f3. It's amazing, but I cannot take the rook with checks. Very often in such situation, queen gives a lots of checks and then finally takes the rook, but there is no way to win it. So c2, a7, the tension is rising. Queen c3 check, king f2. Don't ask me why only square. Queen c5 check. I mean, king e2 is possible. It's some question. Queen c5 check. Now, if king f3 or king g3, I suppose queen a3 check. That is very important. And king e2, c1 queen, a8 queen, and now queen e3 check, and queen takes b6. Finally, I managed to take the rook. So that's why the only way to play is king e2 here. And now queen c4 check. In case of king f2, at least queen takes e4. And finally, yeah, I'm ending up with queen against rook with both 2 pawns each. So black is just winning. And after bishop d3, the sherry on the pie c1 knight check. And now black is winning. After king d2, queen takes d3 check, king takes c1, queen a3 check, and queen takes a7. Well, I mean, okay, we were just having fun. I understand that it's maybe a bit difficult to follow this variation. If you want, you can repeat again, checking it. But it's just so amazing. I mean, how complicated and beautiful chess can be. So after bishop a6, I'm not totally sure we would find all these moves. No, I'm joking, of course, it's almost impossible, but actually bishop a6 was a valid option anyway. But it seems that objectively, with the best possible play, which would have never happened probably, especially since we didn't have that much time probably left already. But probably it was still losing. But what Alexei played, I am pretty sure he was getting lost in all those variations. It's totally crazy lines. Yeah, and he played king g4. I didn't understand this move at all. I mean, I think that it's also, again, the same mistake, and we will see it in the games after also, that you just play kind of a safe move. I mean, you try to get your king as safe as possible, but it's losing a very important tempo, of course. Yeah, king g4. It's actually black is winning in more than one way here, but I played the most obvious move, the most logical, and it's a simple win. So king g4 is a blunder. And again, I want to point out here that as fantastic Alexei Shirov play in such positions when he's attacking the king, but when you are defending, when your king is weak, even players who are in general feeling like a fish in the water in such positions, they make mistakes because it's much more difficult to defend than to attack in such positions. So king g4, now of course knight d1. It's very easy. Knight gets to f2, e3. I was very surprised. I didn't quite understand what Alexei have missed, because now it's very trivial. Queen h8 check, otherwise black will just mate very soon. King d7, bishop b5 check, obviously c6. I mean, this couldn't be missed because otherwise, in case of check, king d7, bishop b5 check, c6 was the only move, yeah? So I don't know even what was missed. So the same idea, but here it's in much better version. So bishop b5 check, c6, and it's a trivial win. Bishop takes c6 check, king c7, d6 check, not to get mated. Actually now, I just wanted to be, to make it safe, but in fact, king takes c6 is just mating. Queen c8 check, king d5. But I didn't want to some checks on a8. It doesn't work. But I mean, d7, f5, it's actually winning. But in a practical sense, it's simpler to take on d6 because, white only move is rook takes d1, queen takes d1 check, bishop f3, and now, on top of an exchange up, also I have an attack still. h5 check, king g3, queen e1 check, king h3, queen e6 check. If king g3, queen e5 check, simply, at least, just totally winning endgame. And after king h4, here also the control, time control have passed, move 41, so I had time to think, and even though there is no need to win by force because it's just winning, but I decided just to calculate variations accurately and just to win it by force. So you can also try it. I mean, try to think what is a forced win here, that you want to finish the game, because sometimes in practical chess is also important, even if your position is completely winning. But if you find the forced win, it's always better, just because because if you miss once and twice, who knows? Finally, you can miss a win in the game, getting tired and so on. So better to calculate. It's not too difficult here. g5 check, very, very direct line, because in case of king takes h5, check, check, king g3 only square, check, king f2 only move, check, check, check. Okay, resigns. So everything with checks. It's always nice to calculate variations when all moves are with checks. So that's why king takes g5 is only move. Queen g6 check. Now the point is that in case of king h4, rook e4 check. Again, not too difficult when there are always checks. Check, check, check is always nice. So here, in case, bishop e4, of course, queen g4 mate is getting mated. So finally, in if g4, rook takes g4, king h3, queen f5. It's made because there is not even a check really, because after queen c3 check, of course, I answer with rook c4 check. So that's why king f4 was played, and here, I just had to see this move. f6. It's a quite nice move, because now black is threatening queen g5 mate with this move. The only logical way to defend against it is h4 after f6, and after h4, rook e8. Suddenly the queen is trapped after rook e8, because in case of course, bishop takes h5, black has queen e4 check, and in case of queen takes h5, rook e4 check. Okay, no other moves than bishop takes f4 and queen takes h5, winning the queen. And after f6, Shirov resigned. So, quite a game. quite a game. I don't know. In general, most of the game it was black attacking white's king. So it started more that white was with playing a4, a5. White had a quite serious prospects to for an attack. Then it turned to black. Black was attacking. Then actually both opponents were attacking each other in the variation of with a bishop a6. If Alexei would have played bishop a6, then I don't even know who will be attacking whom. Actually, both players with the best play. But of course, after king g4, actually the rest was trivial and not too difficult. So, well, entertaining game. Hope that it was also not only enjoyable those because I hope you enjoyed those variations, which I've showed you because some of them were really amazing to my taste. But also you managed to learn something, with this game. I tried to give you certain ideas. Reasons why there were some mistakes made in this position, and again, I will try maybe the next game to make it a bit less crazy, a little bit easier to digest.